harap ng mga baluktot, ako'y nagmamatsyag. Hindi natitinag sa bawat hamon ng mundo. Katotohanan ang aking armas, di ako magpapatalo. Teacher Mark reacts, galit sa kasinungalingan. Sa bawat salita, bumubulusok ang katotohanan. Walang palusot, walang takas sa mali. Ako'y revolusyonaryo sa harap ng mga salbahe. Oh, oh. Bawat reaksyon, mainit at apoy. Sa bawat issue, di ako nagdadalawang isip. Ang bawat maling akala, aking nung tinutunaw. Katotohanan lang ang ilaw ko sa dilim. Teacher Mark reacts, galit sa kasinungalingan. Sa bawat salita, bumubulusok ang katotohanan. Walang palusot, walang takas sa mali. Ako'y revolusyonaryo sa harap ng mga salbahe. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, oh. Sa bawat linya, ako'y di mapipigilan. Katarungan ang aking kalasag at tababak. Hindi basta opinyon, kundi pawang katotohanan. Sa aking channel, wala espasyo ang kapulaanan. Teacher Mark reacts, galit sa kasinungalingan. Sa bawat salita, bumubulusok ang katotohanan. Walang palusot, walang takas sa mali. Ako'y revolusyonaryo sa harap ng mga salbahe. Oh, 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 oh. Parang kidlat sa dilim. Teacher Mark reacts, nagpapahatid ng liwanag sa dilim. Oh,
All please rise. The Honorable, the Chief Justice of the Republic of the Philippines, the Senior Associate Justice, and the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court of the Philippines. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons having business before the Honorable Supreme Court of the Philippines shall give their attention, for the Court is now in session.
Please be seated.
Madam Clerk of Court, please call the cases before us.
Good morning, Your Honors. This is a continuation of the oral arguments on the consolidated petitions in GR number 271059, Representative Edsel Lagman, as substituted by Albay 1st District Representative Crisel Lagman et al. Versus the Congress of the Philippines et al. GR number 271347, Aquilino Coco Pimentel III and Pantaleon Bebot Alvarez versus Lucas P. Bersamin in his capacity as Executive Secretary et al. GR number E-02472, Filipinos for Peace, Justice and Progress Movement Incorporated, or FPJPM, as represented by its President and Chairperson, Joseph Cadsawan, and Chapter Officer, Gloria T. Puzon, versus House of Representatives et al. And GR number E-04036, Edgar Erice and Laila de Lima versus the Senate of the Philippines, represented by Senate President Vicente Soto III et al. Thank you, Your Honors.
Appearances, please.
The Honorable Chief Justice, the Honorable Senior Associate Justices of the Supreme Court, good morning. I'm Attorney Mary Catherine Sison. I'm appearing as a member of the Free Legal Assistance Group. We are collaborating counsels in the case of Lagman et al. Versus Congress et al. I'm appearing this morning in lieu of Attorney Lorenzo Tañada III. Good morning, Your Honors.
Good morning, Your Honors. I am Attorney Elmar C. Barreda of the Lagman Law Offices, and I am respectfully entering my appearance as counsel for the petitioners in GR number 271059, Your Honors, please. Thank you, Your Honors.
Stand up.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jericho Salenga appearing as counsel for Aquilino Coco Pimentel III and Pantaleon Bebot Alvarez. Good morning, Your Honor.
Magandang umaga, Your Honors. I'm Attorney Joseph Lemel Bakiran, respectfully appearing as counsel for Filipinos for Peace, Justice, and Progress Movement. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honors. Attorney Ranny Arellano for Petitioner FPJPM.
Chief Justice Alexander G. Hesmundo, Senior Associate Justice Marvic M.V.F. Leonen, the Honorable Associate Justices of the Supreme Court, good morning and may it please the Court. I'm Popetro Angie Peña, together with Bianca Isabel Soriano, Beatriz Ana Balbacal, and Janessa Maricodera. I appear as counsel for petitioners Edgar Erice and Laila de Lima in GR number 0-4036. Thank you, Your Honors.
Good morning, Your Honors. Respectfully entering for petitioners Erice and de Lima, I'm Attorney Bianca Isabel D. Soriano. Good morning again, Your Honors.
Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, distinguished amici. I am Darlene Marie Berberabe, Office of the Solicitor General for the Respondents. With me today, Your Honors, are Assistant Solicitor General Marisa Galandines, ASG George Ortha, ASG Jennifer Fanjalan Legaspi, ASG Samantha Kamitan, ASG Orlando Polinar, ASG Mark Perete. Other lawyers of the OSG are in the gallery to provide assistance whenever necessary. Also with us this morning and pursuant to this Honorable Court's directive are Department of Economy, Planning and Development Undersecretary Joseph J. Capuno, the DepDev representative to the Investment Coordination Committee, and Department of Budget Assistant Secretary Romeo Matthew Balangit, the DBM's representative to the Development Budget Coordination Committee. Other representatives from the DBM and from the
Amici curiae are Professor Sulita Collias Monsod, Attorney Florencio B. Abad, Honorable Franklin Endrilon, Honorable Benjamin E. Jokno, Honorable Jose Maria Clementa Joey S. Salceda. Honorable Jose Maria Clemente Joey S. Salceda, may we invite you to proceed the podium to deliver your presentation.
Thank you very much, Your Honors. This is the first time I've been to any court in my whole life, but it is certainly an honor. As the friend of the court, let me go straight since
Sir, can you speak?
since we are being given only 10 minutes. Let's go to page 4 of my presentation. It shows that the unappropriated is always used by the government after a major crisis. For example, the 1989, 1990. In 1989, you have Unasan. In 1990, you had Noble. So you had that huge spike. Then right after that, you had the Asian financial crisis. Then you had the global financial crisis under Gloria. And then, of course, right now, you have both, not just the that crisis, an internal crisis, but of course, it's combining with, is being conflated with uncertainty in the international global markets. Next. Actually, this just from, I picked it up from the budget of 1988, and you can immediately see that the mention, I just wanted to show a sample, but since 1937, next, Minister Alba said, unprogrammed appropriations constitute a contingency measure needed during a crisis. In a world of uncertainty, of what they call VUCA, we would have invented UA because that's the only way for us to serve our people, protect their welfare, at the same time ensure the future generations. Next. If you just look at this, that is the impact of COVID. It's about 2.78 trillion. This is what you call a counterfactual analysis. Next. And if you look at the national government fiscal performance, this is what we always show. You can see there that there is a UA unprogrammed. Let's look at 2024. 531.4. But you look down, it's not being deducted. It's not being added to the, because a UA is self-funding. It can only be triggered by three things. One, of course, is foreign-assisted projects. Second is, of course, an increase in non-tax revenues, and of course, revenues from new measures. So, and you can also see that despite this, the primary surplus, which is actually what we monitor, and especially from credit rating agencies, you can see that the Philippines has actually been very fiscally disciplined, because the primary surplus, primary deficit went down from 1.2 trillion to 700 trillion, despite the image of massive expenditures all around. Well, as I mentioned, the 500 billion was self-funding, and therefore it was not being charged against the ordinary revenues of the government or the general fund. Next. Fitch came out this morning and says we will be downgraded. And that's because we are not spending. In the Philippines, to generate 1 peso of GDP, you now need 5 pesos of investments. And especially that supposed to be the normal should be 3 pesos to generate 1 new GDP. But of course, that goes through the life of the investments. But the issue here, of course, is that we are not investing at all. And especially that what will you multiply to the ghost projects? Those ghost projects probably amounting to 200 billion. The I-core, or the investment capital output ratio of that will be 0. And therefore, we had 3% as our GDP for 2025, simply because, and we can see that from a quarterly disaggregation. So, next. But as you can see here, despite that fact, as a former analyst of Swiss Bank, ING Bearings, having most of my life in international financial markets, I know that even against our peers, the Philippines is being given a premium for its fiscal discipline. That's why even if our rating is the same, we are being given a line that is 3 times than our peers because of the history of the performance, or the performance of the Philippines. Next. So, as you can see, last year, we grew only 5%. For 39 years, we were growing 10.8%. Is that nominal? Shucks. Nominal. Anyway, and I think that would be real, because we did not do 5% in the 2022 to 2025 nominally. And then recently, in 2025, we grew by only, from 2022 to 2020, we only grew by 5.33 versus the nominal GDP CAGR of 7.95%. This is as a result of the lower expenditure growth and as a result of the government's self-restraint to restore confidence in the way we manage our fiscal program. That is why we have 200 billion in FLR or for later release, and by after this year, it will go back now to GF or General Fund, and therefore it can no longer be used as another UA. And we also have 198 billion, which were of course vetoed by the President. So essentially, we had 400 billion in underspending. And if we divide it by 3, assuming that's still our ICOR, that's equal to almost 0.5%, and that would have restored us to our normal growth rate in real terms. Next. Well, next. So on the two issues, I posit only two things. If you read the literature, and we went through all of it since 1935, the mention of let's go to the next, because that's easier to explain. Next. Page 24. There's a lot of explaining in between. Every after and constitution, there is a standard budget law. But after 1987, there was no budget law. The reference was made only to EO 292, which was more about the procedures, but not about the fiscal rules that need in order to make, in order to ensure the particulars, the ceiling, the important parameters that are needed in order that the people will have trust on the budget and, of course, in the government. That's why, under the tutorship of Secretary Jokno, I filed 3 BRA, Budget Reform Act. All of them were approved in the House, but did not see the light of day in the Senate. But right now, there is some light in the Senate. There is the bill by Amy Marcos, Ramon Tulfo, and somebody is trying to file a Philippine budgeting code, but I don't know the author. Next. So, I have proven that UA is utilitarian. It's good for the economy. Second, that there is what I call a long acquiescence by the public, by the general government since 1937 of its constitutionality. And although there may be differing but reasonable interpretation of what the budget ceiling covers. Let's go to page. Ang hirap magpaikli ng mahaba. Page 23. Ang sabi dun sa Section 22, si Presidente will propose. Ang sabi sa page, sa same section, same article, it shall be specified in the budget. So, none of that. So, I think the solution to our current problem is very clear. There must be a law governing the budgeting in the and the highest articulation of the priorities of a nation is a budget. And therefore, that should be actually the first thing that any government will do after it is constituted or after a constitution is ratified. That should be the first priority. So lastly, hirap na hirap tuloy ako. I'm not in my opinion, as a friend of the court, striking down the UA totally will neither breed nor bust the ghost of flood control. Number two, striking down UA retroactively penalizes legitimate contractors. Three, it disrupts ongoing foreign-assisted projects in mid-implementation. Four, it leaves the government without a crisis instrument, especially in the middle. We don't know exactly how, although I feel that it will go down already. It will go back down below 100. That's my personal analysis of the demand and supply for energy in the whole world. But that's mine. And lastly, it shifts the burden of budget governance to the judiciary when in fact that burden belongs to Congress, as well as, of course, because of oversight, as well as, of course, to those that implement it. Closing message. On constitutional ceiling, more than one reasonable interpretation exists. The history supports the view that the ceiling applies to program expenditures only, not to unprogrammed. Precisely because it is unprogrammed. It does not exist until the FAPs has already been released. Two, on unprogrammed appropriation, a history of long-standing acquiescence, almost 100 years, of its existence and its exclusion from the budget ceiling. Three, the 2020 to 2025 spending program was small relative to historical GDP growth rate and historical spending pattern. It's not a question of too much, but an issue of being not enough. On outright invalidation, it will not address the implementation level abuses. It will penalize legitimate spending, leave the government without a crisis instrument, shift this court to a burden the Constitution assigns to Congress. In a word, characterized as VOCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, we would have had to devise UA as an instrument, as an indispensable instrument of the state in order to defend and ensure the welfare of our people. Thank you very much for 15 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Salceda. May we request Senior Associate Justice Marvic Leonen to resume his interpellation.
Thank you, Chief. May I call again the Solicitor General? So again, I first flash a slide containing the approvals of the 2024 unprogrammed allocations, where we see that the NEP the GAB and the Senate approvals were consistent. They were the same. And however, after the bicameral session, it was increased by 449,000, billion pesos. And I think this graphically represents the source of the legal issues that are now being raised today, specifically whether the unprogrammed appropriations are constitutional in themselves, whether there are certain guardrails according to the Constitution for unprogrammed appropriations, and whether it can be implemented the way that it has been implemented in the past. So before I continue, thank you for your compliance that you submitted last Friday. You submitted the complete SAROS, including a summary of the releases of the SAROS, and you also added a procedure in your Annex K for the approvals of the SAROS. And we thank you for being so transparent. I think this is an expectation of all government institutions. Just to clarify, all of these are public documents, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. So as I speak, and with the permission of the Chief, all your compliances, including the submissions of the amici, are now or have been uploaded even before we entered the session hall, so that the public may go to the public pleading section of the website of the Supreme Court and download so that they can follow or they can do their own analysis. Again, thank you to government for being so transparent. But unfortunately, some of us lacked time from Friday to today. My team has been working overtime together with me to do a full analysis, and we are going to ask very specific questions, sampling on the data that you have provided. But I am sure that my colleagues will go further than where I will go. First, let's look at the procedure for the release of the SARO. You submitted in Annex K of your compliance a document entitled The General Process Flow on the Release of Unprogrammed Funds from the Unprogrammed Appropriations, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. However, in paragraph 2.2 of your submission, there is mention of the general funding sources for 3 categories. This is from your presentation, so we are projecting your Annex K. There are 3 categories: budget support for GOCC or BSGC, loan proceeds of foreign assisted projects or FAPs, and others not in the prior 2 categories. So we are showing paragraph 2.2 of Annex K. I note the entry in your Annex K where you outline the procedure that if the request is subject to the availability of excess or new revenue, the availability of excess new revenue must be ensured. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So reading your presentation in Annex K, does this require the certification from the Bureau of Treasury of the existence of excess or new revenue prior to the actual SARO?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you confirm that for every SARO, there must be prior to that a corresponding certification by the Bureau of Treasury, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And just to clarify, did you submit on behalf of your clients all the corresponding Bureau of Treasury certifications for the SAROs of 2024 and 2025?
It is my understanding, Your Honor, that they submitted, and also in our briefing, the certifications from the Bureau of Treasury, although not corresponding to specific dates, but they have a system of asking for certification on the available funds, and therefore they will know, they will have the information if they could already issue a SARO.
Because my understanding was for every SARO, Like for example, there is a SARO that released 69 billion from Sagip, that there is a corresponding certificate coming from the Bureau of Treasury. Am I correct?
Not one-to-one, Your Honor, if I may explain. When we ask DBM, so it's like they periodically, they have a system of asking the Bureau of Treasury for available funds. And they monitor it, they track the available funds. And when the agency requests DBM for the SARO, then they would know what is the available balance of certified by the Bureau of Treasury.
So you agree with me that the issuance of the SARO in 2024 started as early as February and March, coming from unprogrammed funds?
My understanding in the briefing yesterday was, I think the first disbursement was in May, if that is my recollection, and if I may ask my team for confirmation, Your Honor. In 2024, okay.
Okay. So looking at the certifications for 2024, as you mentioned, it is not really prior to every SARO, but it is aggregated. And
Yes.
looking at it, so flashed on the screen, and this is in Annex J of your compliance for those that would want to examine it. By the way, I assume that the petitioners also got a copy of the compliances. Okay. Now for Annex J, so if you see the certifications here, it is mostly coming from PhilHealth, PDIC, Philippine Health, etc. And on the next page, again, there are dividend collections, etc., income from government deposits. But other than PhilHealth, the certifications coming from dividends started September, and the interest income started September, November, etc. Is this accurate? Because it's in your Annex J.
Yes,
I
yes.
suppose it is accurate.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then in September 17, 2024, there was 30 billion as a result of the upfront payment for the NAIA, Public-Private Partnership, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And there was canceled letter of credit also in September, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And then importation duties, etc. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Would you know the total of these certifications?
I don't have the figure, Your Honor. I may, if I may ask my team.
Yes, it will be relevant later, so kindly ask your team to start the computations, unless you have it now. $377 billion. Do you want to borrow our AI agent to compute?
Your Honor, thank you for the patience. In my document, it is 396
Yes.
billion 989,182,236.26.
So our expectation is that the total SARO coming from unprogrammed funds should match this Bureau of Treasury certification, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. We will see that later. But I noticed in the 2024 submissions, most of the certifications were from PhilHealth and PDIC under paragraph D, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor, and so that's why also DBM was telling us when they were briefing about the 2025 and 2026 that those will not be found.
Okay. Now, for 2025, it is a bit different because your submission is shorter. In other words, I only see 1, 2, 3 certifications. One in November 3, the second November 18, and the last one November 18. Am I correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And this totals only 102,277,458,303.18 centavos, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So these are the certifications for the releases of the SARO for 2025, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Can you tell us what was the earliest SARO in 2025?
May I confer with my team, Your Honor? The earliest in 2025 was July, Your Honor.
July 2025.
Yes.
Again, I'm confused. Because in your presentation in Annex K, the procedure is that DBM wants to ensure that there is a excess revenue or new revenue before they release from unappropriated funds, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And the certifications from the Bureau of Treasury only came in November, correct? But the SARO started to be released, July, correct?
May I confer, Your Honor,
Yes.
with the DBM representative?
Perhaps the certifications were not complete, or
Your Honor, if we may suggest to ask the DBM representative to explain the detail if it pleases the court.
what do you mean in detail?
The DBM representative is explaining that there was a certificate issued and that there was a superseded certification.
Okay. Can you ask her to take the podium?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next to you.
Next week.
No, next to you.
Okay.
So you can advise her in case she violates her right against self-incrimination. Please go ahead. Can you introduce yourself and your position?
Your Honors, I am Attorney Andrea Celine Magtalas. I am Acting Assistant Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management.
Okay. Go ahead.
The BTR certification dated November 18, 2025 was actually superseded certifications issued dated May 14, 15, July 28, and November 3, 2025. So the first being May 14, Your Honor.
What do you mean superseded?
There was a subsequent certification issued after the first four were issued.
Yes. Can I confirm with you the total amount in terms of certifications for 2025?
It is 202,277,458,303.18.
Okay. The conditions for the superseding can be covered in the memoranda to be submitted by the Solicitor General, but we would really appreciate if you submit to us even the superseded certifications. But I do note that the total of the certifications for the new or excess is 102 billion, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
For 2025, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And for 2025, it is only non-tax revenues, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because in 2024, it was both tax and non-tax, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And in 2024, this was unique because ever since the beginning of time, but let me just say, from 2000, which is what we studied, it has always been non-tax revenues, correct?
Yes, Your
Only
Honor.
in 2024, there was an addition of tax revenues. Excess tax,
In the
correct?
provision, Your Honor.
Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you, you may take your seat,
Thank
and
you.
welcome to the court. So again, let us look at the triggers in the 2024 and 2025 General Appropriations Act. It does say that there must be some assurance that there is excess revenues. Okay, so Solgen, have this been followed?
Yes, Your Honor, by virtue of the process of asking the Bureau of Treasury for the certification.
Okay. In the process that you mentioned, as soon as there is excess revenue, this is now a basis for the DBM being requested to issue the SARO to actually issue the special allotment release orders, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Is there anything in the procedure which tells DBM that the excess revenue should be first spent for programmed appropriations rather than unprogrammed appropriations?
No, Your Honor, because for the programmed appropriations that are in the GAA, most of the appropriations, the general rule is that the allotment order is already the GAA itself.
No, I'm not talking about the allotment order, not the document allowing the release. I am looking at where the funds are coming from. So let us again go back to our points last meeting or the last day that we had our oral arguments. We said that even with the program funds, programmed appropriations, there will always be initially a deficit, correct?
May I clarify your
Okay.
question, Your Honor?
You said that the budget of expenditures and sources of financing, the BESF, which is in the NEP, already assumes a deficit, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And you said that that covers the BESF and the NEP only covers program. In other words, there is a ceiling there of expenditures, and your position is it only covers program, correct?
The BESF covers the programmed and automatic appropriations, while the NEP covers the programmed and unprogrammed appropriations.
So in other words, the BESF already contains a provision for deficits, correct? 24, 25, 26.
Correct, Your Honor.
So therefore, because it does not cover the unprogrammed, there is always an excess of programmed expenditures over expected income, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Now that we have new or excess revenue, and according to you, with new and excess revenue, there is nothing in the process that you mentioned to prioritize the program where there is a deficit, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. And in other words, the DBM can prioritize standby because that is how you characterize unprogrammed. Can prioritize standby rather than the regular.
Your Honor, may I clarify
Yes. Yes, please.
how the DBM does it?
But first answer my question. So DBM can choose to fund first the unprogrammed before the program.
Your Honor, no, because the sources of funds for the programmed and the unprogrammed are different. So for example, if in a source of funding,
Yes, of course they're different. But according to you, in programmed funds, so there is already a listing of expenditures. But the BESF, the budget of expenditures and sources of funding, which contains the program already assumes a deficit, which means they assume that the sources of revenues are not sufficient to cover the expenditures. Now, given that, and there is new or excess expenditures, you are now saying that there is nothing in the procedure which tells DBM, unahin niyo ang program bago tayo pumunta doon sa unprogram. Unahin niyo yung regular bago tayo pumunta doon sa standby, kasi ang ibig sabihin ng standby ay kung sakasakali lang, meron pang extra. Correct?
Okay. May I clarify, Your Honor, because there is usually a confusion as to what the sources of funds for the unprogrammed appropriations are, which could lead people to think that the source is a surplus. And the surplus is the revenues minus disbursements. We are not, the sources of funds for the unprogrammed appropriations is not a surplus. It is the excess in the total revenue that has been committed in the BESF or in any of the item, which is statutorily provided in the GAA.
I think you need to clarify that more in your memoranda. I did not get the sense, but it is very simple. There is a deficit, so all the funding that are projected by DBM and accepted by Congress is insufficient to fund the expenditures. Then later on, the Bureau of Treasury says, hey, there is excess revenue. And the excess revenue, according to you, can go to unprogrammed because in your Annex K, which outlines the procedure, there is nothing there which says that the DBM should first check the priorities of the President and Congress as shown in the GAA, because they are saying programmed is programmed, unprogrammed is unprogrammed, and therefore it should go there first. But let's move so that we do not spend more time. I'm sure that my colleagues will have more pointed questions relating to that. Now, what is for later release? What is this concept of FLR?
The for later release means that there are documents.
Is that in the law? Is that in the law?
Maybe not in the law, and my team can correct me, but I think that this is in the regulations of the DBM.
In the regulations of DBM, okay. Last session, we were enlightened that the entire GAA, at least the program section, is already the authorization, correct?
In most, that is the general rule, Your Honor, because, for example, in 2024, I remember that the figure that the GAA was already the allotment order covered like 85% of the programmed appropriations.
So, in other words, for later release refers to certain items where there are conditions that need to be met before it is funded, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes, but if there is no condition, then it cannot be for later release because that is already authorization, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And because there is a deficit, in other words, there is extra, there is insufficiency of the revenue being projected, then therefore there will be a time that there can be new revenues or excess revenues, and because most of it are not for later release, then these extra revenues should be used for program, correct?
Your Honor, so when the DBM tracks the sources of funding for the programmed appropriations, so each source of financing will have a target. So let's say 1 billion from the GOCCs. If that is the target that was approved, if the GOCCs will yield a 1.2 billion in dividends, then the 0.2 billion will be tracked by the Bureau of Treasury as an excess.
Okay. So in other words, well, let's move on. What are earmarked funds?
Earmarked funds are funds that have been provided by law to be set aside for certain purposes.
Okay, in other words, these are kept by the Bureau of Treasury and they should be spent only for what is earmarked, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So would you say that this has been fulfilled by government in 24, 25, and 26? In other words, sin taxes, public Wi-Fi, etc., all of it has been used for health and public Wi-Fi.
Your Honor, my understanding is that the DBM also has certain policies on cash programming. They have a lot of studies and expertise as to when the funds are available, when to utilize, and there are also a lot of factors that are being considered when projects, activity, or programs are being asked for SARO, for such PAPs.
So in other words, as we were told during the PhilHealth hearings, cash is fungible, which means that even the earmarked funds are put in the same pot, and it is only through accounting that they will see whether it is actually spent. And we were indeed told that sin taxes, not all of them were really going to health, but used for other services. But that nonetheless, I just wanted to clarify this. Okay. Now, you mentioned in Annex K that the President does not participate for the release, correct? So I flashed the paragraph in your Annex K. Pursuant to the special provisions of the UA under the General Appropriations Act, prior approval by the President is not required for the release. This is from your compliance, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Do you refer to the GAA 24, 25, and 26, all of them?
May I confer with my team? My recollection is that yes, the answer is yes. 2024, 2025, 2026.
So it is your position that under the law, the GAA, the buck stops with the DBM, the President need not approve the SAROs, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
In other words, the DBM Secretary is no longer alter ego of the President. The DBM Secretary is co-equal with the President. Or is that a mistaken assumption?
What I could say is that the GAA has authorized the DBM or designated the DBM Secretary to be the one to perform this responsibility.
She reports to the President?
Yes,
Yes,
Your Honor.
and the President, therefore, as the Chief Executive, and there is only one Chief Executive
Correct,
in the
Your Honor.
Constitution. The President can tell the DBM, don't do that, or the DBM Secretary can consult with the President, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And the DBM Secretary is accountable to the President, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Now, let us look at the 2024 provisions of the GAA on unprogrammed funds. And you will note here that in the special provision, it says, subject to Section 35, Chapter 5, Book 6 of Executive Order 292. You confirm that this is in the 2024 GAA?
Yes, Your Honor.
And looking at Section 35, Chapter 5, Book 6 of Executive Order 292, we find there that all requests for special allotment release orders must be accompanied by a special budget to be approved by the President, correct? Section 35, Chapter 5, Book 6, Executive Order 292, or our Administrative Code referred to in the 2024 GAA. It says to be approved by the President, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So, are you now saying, or am I mistaken, that if the DBM has approved SAROS under 2024 without the explicit approval of the President, then we have violated a special provision in the GAA, correct?
May I confer with my team, Your Honor, so that I will not risk a misunderstanding
Yes.
in my answer. Your Honor, our DBM representative is clarifying that what is referred to in the GAA, in the 2024 GAA, is the presidential approval refers to the special budget request, which is a documentary requirement that happens before the issuance of a SARO.
Okay, so in other words, the President approves the special budget request, and then it goes to the DBM Secretary, and the DBM Secretary approves the SARO, correct?
Yes, Your
And
Honor.
the DBM Secretary, because she has the approval power, can actually not approve if she wants to, correct?
Correct, Your Honor. So,
In other words, the DBM Secretary can overrule the President of the Republic of the Philippines, correct? Kasi sabi nyo, mauna si Presidente sa special budget request. I-approve ni President. Pagbaba sa DBM Secretary, because you are saying that the GAA says that it is the DBM Secretary that approves the SARO, the DBM Secretary can say, sandali lang, wag muna.
For reasons, Your Honor, so for example, if there are submissions that haven't been received, if that is a correct
So it makes sense that the higher authority approves first the conditions before the lower authority approves the entire thing. In other words, the Chief Justice should first approve a travel authority before our Chief of OWAS will actually do the final approval. Okay, in other words, maybe you just covered this in your memoranda. Sufficient it is now to say that Section 35, Chapter 5, Book 6 is referred to as a condition for release in GAA 2024, correct?
Correct, Your Honor. It is not reflected anymore in the 2025 and 2026.
I was going to that. Now, when we go to the 2025 and 2026, the specific provision is no longer mentioned, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So, does this mean that the GAA 25 and 26 repealed Section 35, Chapter 5, Book 6 of the Admin Code?
Not repealed, Your Honor, but if I may suggest to ask, because the DBM representative was trying to clarify on why it was changed in the 2025 and 2026.
Yeah, very clear that it was changed in 25 and 26, that the specific mention of Section 35 was removed. And Section 35 contained approval by the President specifically. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes.
May I confer?
What is the status of Section 35 before you confer with the administrative, your administrative support? What is the status of Section 35 as law? Does it still exist in 2025 or 2026?
Yes, it still exists, Your
Can
Honor.
a specific provision in the administrative code be repealed by the General Appropriations Act?
No, Your Honor.
Because that would be exactly called a rider, correct?
Or yes, Your Honor, an
Yes.
inappropriate provision.
An inappropriate provision, otherwise known as a kind of rider, because it must only appropriate, not repeal existing law, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So therefore, the clause now in 25 and 26, which says, and other relevant budgetary requirements in accordance with applicable laws, rules, and regulations, now also refer to Section 35, Chapter 5, Book 6, Administrative Code, correct?
I would say so. I would agree with that statement, Your Honor.
So it is possible, therefore, to legally and therefore constitutionally interpret that the President should approve the SAROs issued under unprogrammed funds, correct? Whether explicitly or implicitly, correct?
For the special budget request, Your Honor, but
Okay.
not the SARO.
Yes. Now, again, just to see the importance of this, based on your Annex B, and Annex B, for information of everyone, is your compliance regarding the digital copies of all the SAROs issued in 2024, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, there were 5 SAROs that was issued for the purpose of accomplishing the President's 8-point socio-economic agenda. There is such a thing, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, the 8-point socio-economic agenda is in the President's Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So now we look at, okay, it is a priority because it is in the PDP, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes, and unprogrammed funds is merely a standby authority, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And if the 8-point plan in the Philippine Development Plan of 2023 to 2028 is a priority, why is it in the unprogrammed appropriations part of the GAA?
Your Honor, I would submit that that goes into the reasoning or the wisdom of the Congress in putting the appropriations in the programmed or unprogrammed.
So our president created the NEP. Our president has a Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028. Our president has committed to the public, I have 8 points. Sustainable livelihood, green livelihood, all of them, I can show it to you there. I enumerated because I wanted to memorize all of this because it is the plan of the president. That's why I wanted to memorize it, but I could not. And this is all there is. It committed it to the public. Ito yung gagawin ko during my entire term. Yet, instead of the Congress, in its wisdom, instead of putting it in the program, meaning regular, it put it as standby. Is that what you mean? We have to respect the wisdom of Congress, putting it on standby.
It is the position of the respondents, Your Honor, that we can actually debate on the soundness or unsoundness of putting certain items. And in fact, the public is already responding and reacting that that is unsound. But it is the humble submission of the respondents and the Solicitor General that this is a political question. Our Constitution defines the separation of powers and in fact has...
Article 8, Section 1, second paragraph has a modification on separation of powers. Grave abuse of discretion, meaning irrationality, can be corrected by judicial review. But let us continue and let us just see what exactly were these SAROs. Page 141 of your submission is a SARO issued November 11, 2024, amounting to 12 billion released. Page 155 is another SARO for purposes of release for the President's priority, 69.9 billion, almost 70. Page 210, 3 billion. Page 215, 9.9 billion. And 228, 51 billion. Now, just to see, let's look at the highest release under for the President's priority. This is page 155 of your submission. Here is the SARO. And if you look at the SARO, the funding source is SAGIP under unprogrammed funds. You agree? Funding source, unprogrammed, SAGIP, correct?
The source of fund is the item in the appropriation,
Yes.
Your Honor. Yes.
No, not appropriation, unprogrammed appropriation.
Yes, Your Honor.
There is an item there called strengthening assistance for government infrastructure and social projects, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Now, reading it, it seems everything. Government infrastructure and social projects. That means everything, correct?
It means assistance for government and infrastructure social programs.
Yes, that's everything. What else is not infrastructure and social program? Education is social, everything else, correct? And that is a lump sum, correct?
It is a lump sum which
Yes.
has a specific purpose and specific amount.
That's being challenged by the petitioners, but in any case, it's a lump sum, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
In 2024, there were 47 lump sum items in unprogrammed funds, correct? 47 lump sum, 4 line items.
I do not have that detail now, Your Honor.
In 2025, there were 25 lump sums, no line items. You don't have that detail also.
I don't have, Your Honor.
In 2026, it was reduced to 10 lump sums, correct?
I do not have that detail now, Your
Okay.
Honor.
In any case, let us go to that SARO. It says 69 billion, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And if we move further down into page 163, if I'm not mistaken, if we scroll down, it also contains releases for flood control projects, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes, and if we scroll down further, it covers also Region 3, like Hagonoy, Bulacan, correct? Release of 70 million pesos.
Okay, I am referring to the document that you are flashing, Your Honor, that your statement is correct.
Yes. So therefore, all the 5 SAROs, the total was 146 billion pesos from standby, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And these SAROs were released under the signature of the DBM Secretary, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, the source is SAGIP. Now, let's go to the other SARO for 51 billion, just to see the importance of authorities in the approvals. Page 228, Annex B, 51 billion, same. SAGIP, lump sum, source, purpose, 8-point priority agenda of the President. And if we move down to page 234, a start of the listing for flood control, correct?
Based on the document flashed on screen, Your Honor, correct.
Yes, and to page 239, releases for Region 3 and Oriental Mindoro. I just want to show you where all of these are found in terms of the authority for release, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So, in your submission, the President did not participate in these releases, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes, it was, the signature is DBM Secretary, only the DBM Secretary, correct?
For the SARO, Your Honor.
For the SARO, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. So, is SAGIP a proper lump sum item? Because I only flashed the infrastructure flood control. There is still road maintenance. There are different other social projects in one SARO. So, in other words, is this compliant with Bellica versus Ochoa 2013 penned by Justice Alfredo Benjamin Caguiwa, and in 2019, Saj Telly Bernabe? Okay.
It is our submission, Your Honor, that it passes the Belgica test of on a single correspondence, which is a specific amount for a specific purpose.
Okay, now I move on to our next point, but probably your team can be taking note of some of the observations that we made and covering it. We are looking at grave abuse of discretion. Okay, now, the release of the total releases of unprogrammed funds, and thank you for your submissions again. Let us start with 2025, contained in Annex F. Status report of FY fiscal year 2025 unprogrammed appropriations. Okay, there is a first page. And there are so many columns, and as lawyers looking at this, we will be daunted, but fortunately, somebody told me, just look at one column, and you will see the total releases for allocations. And based on this table, the total amount of appropriations for unprogrammed in 2025 was 363 billion and some change, correct?
Based on this document, flash on screen, Your Honor, correct?
Yes. So I'm sorry if I call the millions as change because I cannot speak all of it. The total amount of allotment releases from unprogrammed in 2025 was 218 billion pesos, correct?
Based on this document, Your Honor, that's correct.
Can you remind us again? the total amount in terms of the Bureau of Treasury certification for 2025 a while ago. The one where I mentioned even the 18 centavos. It was 100 billion plus, correct? I do not need to go to the details.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, can you explain this? The total released from 2025 from unprogrammed was 218 billion. But the Bureau of Treasury certificate only covers 100 plus billion.
May I ask for the
Yes,
DBM
please.
representative, please, to explain? I
Yes,
do not
please.
have the explanation now, Your Honor.
Yes, please. Nagdala ka na ng maraming papeles.
Your Honor, the total allotment releases for 2025 also covers foreign assisted projects, which are not covered by the excess or new revenue.
Yes, and you can match the 100 to the third category, not foreign assisted, not support for
Apo.
GOCC.
Yes,
okay.
Your Honor.
Thank you. Now, let us look at where it was actually released. So the highest was for foreign assisted projects at 110 billion, correct?
Based on this document, Your Honor, correct?
Yes, and that's what explains, that's the explanation of DBM. And the next highest was a program called Strengthening Assistance for Government Infrastructure and Social Programs at 51 billion, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
This is 2025, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Now let's go to your submissions for 2024 GAA, starting with Annex C, your status report, 2024. Okay, looking at the allotment releases in 2024, the total for unprogrammed, unreleased, was 531 billion, correct?
Correct,
I'm sorry,
Your Honor.
the total allotment release was 531 billion, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And all of these are covered by the Bureau of Treasury certification, tax and non-tax, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the highest amount was for SAGIP, Strengthening Assistance for Government Infrastructure and Social Programs at 200 billion, more or less, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And support for foreign assisted in 2024 only came at 178 billion, more or less, correct?
I do not have the detail, Your Honor.
Yes, and looking at your submission, we did a little analysis. I show you unprogrammed appropriations and SAGIP. Okay? So again, total government expenditures in 2024 was 5.9 trillion. In 2024, the unprogrammed release was 531 billion. The expenditures of government, however, was 6 trillion. Looking at this, there was a bigger deficit because there was also 531 billion paid from unprogrammed, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, then going to the next table, we see the allotments. And if we look at total expenditures, the next slide, you will see that in fiscal year 2024, 9% of the releases, almost 8.97 or 9% came from unprogrammed, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And in 2025, 4% of all the releases came from unprogrammed, correct?
Based on this, you're correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And in terms of the unprogrammed, 29% in 2024 went to DPWH SAGIP program, correct?
Based on this, that number is correct.
2025, learning from 2024 perhaps, DPH had 0 SAGIP releases, correct? Based on our graph.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in terms of the share of SAGIP of total expenditures, SAGIP in 2024, that lump sum in the unprogrammed funds, 3.38% was spent for that lump sum amount, correct?
Based on your study, Your Honor, I would defer to your
Do you know
your
that the budget
documents.
of the judiciary vis-a-vis the entire budget of government is only about 1% more or less?
The DBM representative
Is increasing it to
confirms.
3.38%? No, it's only 1% in terms of the judiciary, just to show you that scale. And in terms of 2024, you will see that SAGIP program, which is the blue one, next slide, covered 38% of all unprogrammed releases. This is the importance of SAGIP, whether it is a valid lump sum, and the importance of how we can actually check the authorizations for this program. Now, let's move on.
Sige.
Okay, so that is all for now. Madam Solgen,
Thank you, Your Honor.
may I now ask the Honorable former Senate President Franklin Drilon for just a couple of questions.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I know if it is usual that the President issues a certification of urgency for the approval of the GAA?
Yes, it is usual. It happens every year when I was in the Senate.
And may I know for what purpose it is certified as
The
urgent?
purpose is to dispense with waiting for 3 days before distributing the printed copy.
Yes, Your Honor. And how large is the GAA? How thick is the document?
I don't know, maybe 6 inches, just speculating.
Yes.
I don't really have the actual, I haven't really measured
Yes.
the GA.
And it has thousands of lines, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And in 2024, they added tax revenues in terms of unprogrammed appropriation, correct? And the Congress only had, both the House and the Senate, only had less than 24 hours within which to approve, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Yes, and would you say that there was appropriate time for the 24 senators and the 300 or so members of the House to actually review every line changed by the bicameral?
There is none, Your Honor. In fact, many of the difficulties that we now discuss arises from the fact that there is simply no time to examine all of these thousands of lines in the General Appropriations Act.
Again, sir, you are saying that the singular purpose for the certification that it is urgent constitutionally is only to skip the 3 days before third reading, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And the 3 days are important because after the bicameral, like we saw in 2024, there was added 400 billion, but they only had 24 hours to check where in God's earth did you put the 400 billion, or where did you move the funds, and what changed in terms of the provisions?
We must admit, Your Honor, that the certification as to urgency is issued only to make sure that the deadline for the budget enactment is met, and that is the end of the year. That's the reason for dispensing with the 3-day rule.
Okay. Being former Senate President and knowing of your experience, what is so wrong with a reenacted budget? Because the Constitution, our Constitution is different from other constitutions. It does not say that there is no budget after the end of the fiscal year, but it says it is reenacted.
What is wrong with the reenacted budget is that the items in the previous year's budget which were not utilized are again reenacted and serve as an authority for the disbursement of the funds.
Yes, sir. So in other words, there is still budget, except that it is not in the accurate amounts needed for the following year.
That's correct.
Yes.
And, Your
And it
Honor,
is also, yes.
may I reveal that when I was Senate President, the incumbent president asked me not to pass the budget so that the previous budget will be reenacted and that the president would have more freedom to spend the items in the budget.
Thank you for that information. It is duly noted. But after it is reenacted, is it still possible to pass the budget for that year in order to replace the reenacted budget?
The budget expires by the end of the previous year. And therefore, the reenacted budget is supposed to expire when the new budget is passed.
Okay. So it is possible that it be replaced, let us say, sometime January or February, as it has been done in the past, correct?
That's correct. Yes,
Thank you, sir. Can I now call? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Can I now call the counsel for Erice?
Morning, Your Honor.
I will pursue some of your arguments. Article 7, Section 22 states that the President shall submit to the Congress within 30 days, as basis of the General Appropriations Bill, a budget of expenditures and sources of financing, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what's in the provision. And the clause, as basis for the General Appropriations Bill, refers to the budget of expenditures and sources of financing, including receipts from existing and proposed revenue measures, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it speaks of only one budget, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And in your position, one budget includes the regular and the standby, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. That's our
It cannot be that the standby is not included. Can you explain why?
It cannot be, Your Honor, because the fact that Congress, Your Honor, has the power to appropriate and therefore allocate certain sums, Your Honor. Therefore, they should be working on a single budget, Your Honor. And also that that budget must have a sources of financing because that, Your Honor, has underwent studies, Your Honor, from DBCC already. And if there will be a contingent pool of funds that is not included in the budget, then it will defeat, Your Honor, the purpose of that study.
Okay, Article 6, Section 25, subparagraph 1, you remember, states that the Congress may not appropriate higher than what the President has asked for, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you explain the constitutional value of this provision? In other words, why is it there? Why is there a limit on the power of Congress to appropriate more than? Why can it not appropriate more than what the President has asked?
It cannot appropriate, Your Honor, because the President already has a plan, macroeconomic plan and development plan for the country, and by consultation from his alter ego, his or her alter egos, Your Honor, they already came up with the projection of what is needed for the country. So it is also not...
The decision to spend is with the President, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the decision to spend by the President can only be responsible if the President can know what its sources of revenue are, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if Congress adds more, then therefore it's as if Congress is telling the President, you should spend on something which you did not plan for, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And therefore your position in one of the issues is that Congress cannot add any new program or project, correct?
Actually, for petitioners Erice and De Lima, Your Honor, Congress may add the new program provided there is only one pool.
They get it from the from the total, correct?
Those with sources, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so for you, it is not possible because there is a cap according to the Constitution. It is not possible that unprogrammed is not included because as happened in 24 and 25, the total expenditures were way above the actual cap, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Thank you, Counsel.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
The Counsel for FPJ PM. I just wanted to clarify. The Solgen proposes that the 1987 Constitution imposes a disclosure standard, not an availability standard. And its animating purpose is to ensure fiscal responsibility, transparency, and accountability in relation to your argument that Congress cannot increase the SAG-Fs, including road users fund.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. In other words, are you agreeable to what the Solgen is saying?
Only to the point, Your Honor, that the programming purpose is a part of the budget planning, Your Honor.
So, in other words, there was legislation to provide for the road users fund, correct?
Sorry, Your Honor, for that issue, Your Honor, it would be Atty. Bakiran who will answer for that.
Okay. But you are same client, correct? Yes, go ahead, go ahead. Kung gusto nyo, pwede kayo magtabi.
Good morning, Your Honor.
So, there is a law that earmarks funding for road users, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The road users fund, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is the road users fund?
The Road Users Fund, Your Honor, refers to the earmarked revenues taken from the Motor Vehicles Users Fund, Your Honor.
Okay, so it's taken from that fund, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, can you show me anything in the law which says Congress cannot add for purposes of that fund to be used for maintenance of roads, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Congress cannot add.
Your Honor, if we check the history of the law, before it was amended by Republic Act 11239, Your Honor, it stated there under Section 8 that Congress may add additional funds outside the Motor Vehicles User Fund. However, Your Honor, the same law has already been repealed by Republic Act 11239. And states there under Republic Act 11239 that the Special Road Fund, Your Honor, shall be sourced only from the Motor Vehicles Users Charge taxes collection, Your Honor.
In other words, there is a source, and the source is earmarked, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
But there is nothing actually in the text of the law which says that Congress cannot add.
I have to submit, Your Honor, that's nothing. There's nothing stated in the law.
And therefore, Congress can add.
Your Honor, the problem here, Your Honor, is not with whether or not Congress has the power to add. The problem here is the structure in adding the amount, Your Honor.
What do you mean?
Your Honor, the Special Road Fund, Your Honor, was created particularly to be sourced from the Motor Vehicle Users Charge. It is a special fund. So that if the Congress will add funds outside the Motor Vehicles Users Charge, it will change its character as a special fund. It will now become a lump sum disguised as a line item without any specific law that allows its increase, Your Honor.
That is a very detailed examination of the nature of the fund, but has it been abused so far?
Your Honor, well, if you see the history of the law, Your Honor, in fact, the reason why Republic Act, no, it was the original law, Republic Act 8794 was amended, Your Honor, because it has been subject to abuse, Your Honor. Now, because of that, the Congress had to repeal the law and remove the road board, Your Honor, because it has been reported that has been subject to abuse, the motor vehicles users charge collection. Now it has been now repealed.
But
so
that is an allegation of yours. We cannot see that actually happening.
Yes,
we
Your
are
Honor.
not a trier of facts.
Yes, Your Honor.
But simply that there is nothing in the law which allows Congress to add to it, correct?
For the law, there is a law, Your Honor, that specifies that the special road fund earmarked,
Again,
Your
is there a
Honor,
provision that says that that fund cannot be added? Let's go to another fund.
Yes.
Sin taxes. You know where it comes from? Tobacco use, correct?
yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So there is sin tax, and sin tax is the sin taxes will go for health, correct? There is a special fund created for that, correct?
Yes,
Yes. Now, if government says the health of my people is so important that I will add to that fund, it cannot do that.
it can, Your Honor. If
It
it's,
can,
yes.
but it has to create another item, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And why would it want to do that when there is already a fund?
Your Honor, because the nature of this fund, Your Honor, is special. And if by doing that, Your Honor, you will amend the law by creating...
Special only means, according to the Constitution, that you cannot use it for any other purpose, the PhilHealth case, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And that means that it's still there because it's coming from the earmark.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, so it's still there. And when they add to it, they are just adding the capacity of government to address that problem, but it does not change the nature of the earmark funds, correct?
Your Honor, but it will violate the special law which refers to the earmark funds, Your Honor, because...
Yes, but you just said that there is nothing prohibiting government to adding to it. In other words, kindly cover that more in your memoranda. I just want to go to some final points, and
Thank you,
I
Your
would like to call the representative of the Free Legal Assistance Group representing Lagman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Attorney Sison, it is comfortable for this court to simply say that we should read the text of a constitution so literally that we can always defer to the wisdom of political departments, correct? I mean, to the court, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, but what I mean by comfortable is that when we do not rule to declare an act unconstitutional or to say that there are certain guardrails that should be respected whenever a certain act of Congress or the President is done, comfortable means that we do not rankle the powerful in the status quo, correct?
That is correct, Your
Yes,
Honor.
and that's inertia that is tempting on the part of the court, correct?
Yes,
But
Your Honor.
unlike the other political departments, in this court, the petitioner is a majority of one, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
In other words, in the Congress, in the House of Representatives, you have to go through your representative, and your representative will have to argue with all of them. But in this particular case, when your client filed, when the other petitioners filed, they are now treated almost equal with government. They have to answer the arguments that were raised, correct?
That is correct, Your
So
Honor.
this is, in a sense, a protection of what is considered to be the minority voice. But certainly, the minority voice can also represent the voiceless majority, correct?
That is correct, Your
Yes,
Honor.
and that is where we are looking at it from as a judiciary, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is not to be against government when we look at a particular case so in a detailed manner, conscientiously and deliberately, because we want to protect that function of the judiciary, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Do you agree with me that social justice should be read into every provision in the Constitution?
Definitely, Your Honor.
That when we read the Constitution, it is not only the intent of the framers, the intent of those who ratified, but also social justice, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
In other words, you agree with me that there is a certain argument that we cannot be always positivistic, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
That we have to take a look at what is actually existing, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, because if we were only asked to look at the intent of the framers and those that ratified, we will be superhumans and omniscient, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because what will be asked of us by that legal methodology is that we try to telepathy or do mental telepathy to discern what the 50 constitutional commissioners were thinking through their words, and also to take a look at those that ratified the Constitution in order to, in a superhuman manner, discern the objective intent of a particular provision. Correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
But as you are now looking at the 15 of us, you now say that none of us are superhuman, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And that kind of methodology also assumes, besides being superhuman, that we are also half human, because it says that we should not consider our ideological predilections, our embodied reasoning, our situated reasoning, not be conscious of that and simply operate like computers, defer that kind of a perspective and read the Constitution as if we were calculators or computers, correct?
Hold the
And we are
impartiality.
not computers, because then there should have been simply an AI agent listening to you right now. But what you have are human beings with discretion coming from different journeys sitting in this court, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And therefore, it is our role not to accommodate with political power, but to accommodate with provisions in the Constitution as seen by social justice, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
From the lens of social justice, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the narrative that we should bring is not the narrative of how government can work easier, but a narrative from the point of view of our people, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. To protect the interest, Your Honor.
Like
of the
all
people.
political leaders, they should also have that narrative. So our narrative is that of the motorcycle rider who died while waiting for his few thousand pesos for ayuda in Quezon City a few days ago, not the narrative of those waiting for their cut in the allocation of a government budget amounting to millions, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Our narrative should be of the family who lost their homes in a fire in Nia Road, in Quezon City, who now desperately seek shelter, not those who have mansions and farm-to-market roads that lead to their mansions or subdivisions they now own, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Our narrative should be that of a grade 5 student who cannot read or write, as per report of EDCOM 2, and the limited hope of her family, not those who are able to send people to Princeton, Oxford, or wherever they could squander the opportunity, yet still become a political leader because they belong to a family dynasty, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, and our narrative should be that of a fisher folk family who now experience hunger because they cannot put diesel in their boat. Not those who produce very complicated budget concepts in order to purchase helicopters and private jets, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So what I am saying is, you will agree with me that our role is to try to step back and to see it from a different perspective, regardless of whether or not we will rankle those that are in power, because that is our duty as a court, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And therefore, it is our duty not to be comfortable, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Kari. Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you, Your Honor.
I now yield the floor.
It's practically 12 o'clock, and Justice Kagiwa will start his interpellation. So let's have a lunch break and resume at 1:30. Session is suspended.
Check. So, iwan lang nating nakabukas. Okay, kasi nandito kayo sa laptop, no? Or, teka. I'll think of it kung lilipat ko kayo dito sa kabila. No? Pero, iwan lang muna ko muna kayo dyan. Yun, so, enjoy your lunch. Enjoy your lunch. Kanina pa nag-start, pero pwede nyo namang i-rewind muna. Kasi nasa lunch break sila. Pwede pa naman tayong humabol para mamayang hapon. At least kahit papano. Updated kayo dun sa pinag-uusapan or makapalo kayo dun sa pinag-uusapan nila.